Hi, everyone. Nice to be here at the EarthX Summit. Thanks for having us. I think it's an incredibly exciting time to talk about energy in North America. Given all the things that we've talked about this morning, the AI industry into megadrive, energy demand is just off the charts. And we've seen some really exciting things in North America writ large in the energy space. You've heard in the news certainly that in the U.S., the directive is energy superpower. Needless to say, the virtually every aspect of the energy space in the U.S. right now is operating in overdrive. It's really been a renaissance. In Canada, really exciting things happening. Both in traditional and in renewables. We're very excited to be a part of that at my company. But you're seeing offshore discoveries in Newfoundland, where we're located. You're seeing LNG projects in Canada. Just really exciting things happening all over the place. With respect to Mexico, Juan, I'm really curious on your view. The energy space in Mexico has always been a high performer, big part of the economy down there. But at least in my experience, there's always been the view in the industry of my goodness, the resources in Mexico are incredible. If this domino fell over or if this happened, Mexico could become an incredible player on the energy stage. And I'm curious. Do you agree with that? What do you view as the next step in the Mexico energy landscape to truly unleash Mexico's energy resources?
Thank you, Chris, and thanks to edX for the invitation to be here. Yes, we have incredible results, as you mentioned. Now everybody's talking about fracking in Mexico, and well, first of all, as you know, natural gas is the bridge fuel of the energy transition, delivering reliable, lower carbon energy today while we scale up renewables for tomorrow. It's very important for us, for Mexico, to bring the investments, the investors to our country. And here in Texas, the Eagle Ford, in Eagle Ford, there are a lot of companies that we are willing to invite to invest in our country. Just to give you an idea, where are we? Natural gas represents 75% of the total demand in our country, and 70% of the carbon emissions in Mexico came from the energy sector. 60% of our energy use gas from Texas. 60%, can you imagine? If something happened, if Mr. Trump changed of mind, and our strategy to strengthen the energy sovereignty is just to produce natural gas in our country for the electric sector, for the industrial sector, and just to give you some numbers, 6.8 BCFs of natural gas were imported in 2025. 80% come from Texas and 20% from California. The remainder of national demand is 2.3 BCF per day is supplied by Pemex. So now our solution is for the energy transition is to get the gas from the subsoil, the gas from through the fracking, and we need technology, and we need investments, and well, Canada, Mexico, and US is the biggest energy market in the world, and well, we are on the way to do so.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So, at my company, we are a renewable fuel producer. We view the transition as truly that, a transition. And so somewhat counterintuitively, though, the renewable industry has realized, I think broadly speaking, is that having a robust, secure, affordable energy scheme within the applicable country is just absolutely vital to making progress on sustainability. Because just to state the obvious, the populace of a nation is not going to support transition matters if they don't feel, if they're unsure of where their energy is coming from, if they can't afford their energy, if it's coming from someone that they don't like. There's disruptions all over the world, as we're seeing. And so having a robust energy economy within the country that satisfies the consumer's needs at the base level is, in our view, critical to then saying, okay, look, we've satisfied all those needs, but we can do better, right? There is a transition to be had. For example, the renewable fuel industry. It is a true transition industry. It uses existing technology today that is available to reduce emissions in fuel that is used today. And that's exciting because it doesn't require additional, technology leaps, which everyone should be excited about. But I'm a big believer in any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And so if you walk around today, you will see any number of presentations about, hey, we've got the next magic product. And it's going to solve the sustainability issues. It's going to transition our economies to a green economy. And those are very exciting projects. We should be excited about them. I'm excited about them. I'm also excited about technologies that are here today. Like, we are doing absolutely incredible things with things that are happening today. So for example, in the US, the transportation sector takes up roughly, it's responsible for roughly 30% of emissions in the US. It's a big number in the broad strokes. Our product, renewable diesel, and other renewable fuels can reduce those emissions by 60, 70, 80%. Using technology today, drop it straight into your truck, into the 18-wheeler, incredible reductions we do every day. And so I think it's important to stay excited about technology of the future and technology of today that we can do that is unlocked by taking, the ability to do that is only achievable if you unlock your own energy economy to get this stable level of robust energy economy to satisfy the needs of the consumers, so that then supports the transition.
Yes, you're right. Everybody talks about the nearshoring, and as you mentioned, we need energy and we need certainty to the investors. In Mexico, the electricity demand is growing at an unprecedented pace due to the rise of artificial intelligence and data centers. That's a problem that we have because we don't have enough energy in our country according to the demand, and making power grids the true bottleneck of the transition. The global investment remains largely supply side oriented to generation, manufacturing, grids, while demand side sectors, buildings, efficiency, heating continue to lag behind. The implications for the Mexican market are the following. The risk becoming a net importer of technology if local manufacturing is not developed, grid saturation without accelerated expansion of renewable integration, and the growth of all driven data centers will put our grid stability at a risk. And well, now we are under the negotiations in the TEMEC, and we have an historic opportunity. Nevertheless, we don't know what will be the end of this story. We want to protect our national content. We want to replicate your SBA. You know, the SBA has been helping a lot of companies, not only from US, but also from Canada. And we want to replicate this mechanism for helping the companies, the small to be the medium, and the medium to be the large one. And for selling services as a Mexican entity to US and to Canada. This is the way in Colombia that help a lot of companies to export products and services, quality products and services. And that's another goal that we are following in the Mexican Energy Council.
And one of the things I'm curious about, Juan, is in our experience in Canada, the energy expertise is, I would argue, unrivaled. Certainly the U.S. Top of the technology with respect to any facet of energy, and combined with the capital availability in both of those countries, just makes for an incredible opportunity to operate in those spaces that I believe is a virtuous flywheel of capital and expertise and people, and it just gets better and better. And so I'm curious, in the description that you gave of where you see the Mexican industry, the energy economy going, do you see a space for Canada, for the U.S., for capital expertise, or both? How do you see opportunities there playing out?
Yes, we need all of your expertise for the fracking, because due to the price of the millions of BTUs, the price now is we have the better price in this area, and if you compare with the Asia price is around $14 per millions of BTU, and here in Texas is around $3. So can you imagine the business model and to develop a business model that will be bankable? We will need your technology, not only your technology, but also your expertise in the matter, because we need water, we need sand, and we need a lot of things, logistics, and we are on the way to do so, but we will need your expertise and your resource.
Certainly some exciting opportunities. I think, I know some drillers in West Texas that would love to get $3 for their natural gas, I suspect. But I think overall, now more than ever, in what's going on in the world, energy security seems to be a major player, right? Making sure you have access to adequate energy from reliable sources. It just has to be top of mind for, frankly, the entire world right now. Historically, incredibly tight ties between Mexico, Canada, U.S., with the CUSMA USMCA renegotiations upcoming. Do you have any views on, how do you see that playing out? How do you want it to play out? Do you think there's a particular space for the energy industry in that negotiation? I would say, broadly speaking, the energy industry has somewhat sidestepped some of the recent news and things that are affecting other industries, but certainly that could change at any time. Do you have any views on how that renegotiation may affect plans, or just broadly speaking, how you would like to see that play out?
Yes, we have to see the Mexican market, and with one of U.S. and Canada as a whole market. you know, the energy market, the biggest energy market in the world. And well, the USMCA, the negotiations, well, all of them are linked with the energy. Energy that, well, according to the demand that we don't have. Just to give you other numbers, a number, you know, we need around 10 gigawatts for the end of this administration in 2030. 10 gigawatts, 10,000 megawatts to be developed. And our main utility is CFE, and they don't have enough money. We need public-private participation, public-private contracts, and we are on the way to develop the contracts, bankable contracts, and well, you know, we are in a rush because otherwise all of the investors that are willing to come to my country for the relocation of the industry, they are planning, some of them are planning to make those investments to Vietnam. Can you imagine? We are losing these opportunities.
So I'm curious how you view on just policy support, where you see that going. You know, we've had at Brea significant experience in that area. Just by the way of backstory, we have a refinery in Newfoundland, Canada, that was a traditional refinery since the 70s. It was shut down during COVID, economic shutdown. It just didn't make sense anymore. In partnership with the government of Canada, we were able to come in, revitalize that facility, convert to renewable production. You know, frankly, could not have done it without the support of government. And we viewed it as a huge win-win, both for the province, employment, economic output, but also from a sustainability perspective, and just, you know, couldn't be done without the strong framework of policy support surrounding renewable fuels, but also the direct partnership with both the federal government and the province. You know, curious on your views on how do you see that working in Mexico? Do you see that working, you know, cross-continent? You know, any views on how that works in the energy industry in Mexico?
Yes, the recommended energy policy for Mexico and for Mexico is the power grids as a national priority, diversify and reliable generation. You know that we have a big problem in the world because of the production of the gas turbines. Turbines is the demand is too big and it's not enough to manufacture all of those equipments in the world. And well, we have been talking with Mitsubishi, with GE, and the three of the big ones manufacturers, GE, Mitsubishi, and Siemens, and they will have those equipments for the 2030. So in the meantime, what can we do? And we have a problem in regarding to the power grids. We have to diversify and reliable generation. I mean, renewables with storage, plus backup from the gas turbines. But we have to wait according to the demand. So we have to find other technologies and other way for the solutions of the energy generation, the power generation. We have to anticipate AI and data center demand, long-term social programs, because in Mexico, as well as in your country, and well, the communities, las comunidades indígenas, the farmers, we have to develop social programs with them. I mean, this is the only way to get investments and to build those projects on time. And well, international financing, partnership with the IDB and the IFC to attract large-scale private investments. There are resources in this region, in the borderline, with the IDB, and well, we have to work with them. Well, we have to develop the projects. We have to find a way to solve those problems for the power, not only for the power generation, but also for the transmission and the grid. We don't have enough transmission lines for the electricity transportation, and so there are a lot of things to do in my country to connect with U.S. and with Canada.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that came to mind as you were talking about the generational issues, which, frankly, I suspect every developed grid in the modern world is facing right now, given the load growth demand that we've seen. People, this reminded me of the interconnectedness of the three countries. One thing that people may be aware of, at least in Texas, there's the grid is called ERCOT. It is, in Texas, people are very proud to have their own grid. It is thought of as largely separate from the rest of the United States, separate from everyone else. But what people, a lot of people don't actually know is it is connected. There are DC tie connections between Texas, ERCOT, and Mexico. Electricity flows across that, and it's a great source of reliability. If something goes wrong and there's excess demand on one of the grids, then that DC tie has been used in the past to go both ways and supply energy. And I think it's just a reminder that yes, everyone has their own. Mexico has their own electricity regulatory regime. Texas has its own unique regulatory regime. Canada has its own. But these grids, we are interconnected, even though in many ways, when you read the headlines, it seems like we're not. In reality, we are, and whether people like it or not, and we should continue to build on those connections to our mutual benefit, just like, even if it doesn't get the headlines, just like these DC tie electric currents back and forth between Mexico and Texas.
Yes, I remember in 2012 that we have a mechanism for working together. It was the Energy Business Council, and through this mechanism, participate the private sector, the public sector. I remember a company from Texas, the Hunt Power. And well, we have to find a way to work together to find the solutions. And well, sorry to talk about gas, but without gas, there is no way to accelerate the energy transition. And we need everywhere gas, but not also gas, but also the pipelines. We have to build the infrastructure, and it will take time. It will take time. We don't have electricity we don't have enough electricity in the south part of the Mexican Republic. But in the world, according to the global outlook of the ExxonMobil, the demand is projected to rise steadily from approximately 250 BCF per day in 2000 to nearly 500 BCF per day by 2050.
Yeah, the natural gas conversation is really fascinating one to me because I think a lot of people would think, hey, we're trying to get towards sustainability. Let's move forward. And I think I would really challenge, that's everyone's goal, but I would really challenge people to go look and compare, if you're talking, especially electricity resource generation, there are many places that are just burning heating oil, right, for electricity generation. And if you compare that to natural gas, it is incredibly compelling from a sustainability standpoint. Ultimately, do we want to get somewhere else? Absolutely. But to me, it is, when I think sustainability, we should be taking big shots at places where we can make absolutely incremental impacts, right? So for us, that's renewable fuels into heavy industry, displacing use. The transition from heating oil to natural gas is a massive drop in GHG emissions, and that's one that, with the right infrastructure, can be made today. The technology is absolutely there. The capital is there. And it's a meaningful reduction in GHG emissions towards sustainability. And I think, if you look in Canada, for example, I mean, they are very excited about LNG facilities that they have built to take advantage of their natural gas assets. You mentioned some of the spot prices in the Asian markets. That's absolutely what they're looking at as well. They sell plenty to the U.S., but they're looking to. They've got LNG facilities, and they're looking to go west with it. And they're sending it to friendly jurisdictions. It makes all the sense in the world, both from an economic standpoint and also toward a sustainability standpoint. And will we move on at some point? Absolutely. But I think we'd be remiss to forego massive incremental changes in the hopes that letting the perfect be the enemy of good.
Yes, you're right, Chris. North America leads global natural gas production, while Asia Pacific drives LNG import growth, and the industrial sector continues to increase electrification demand. But the pipeline imports have hit new records. Cross-border constraints in the valley are reinforcing flows, and we have around 8 BCFs per day is the demand that we have in Mexico, and because of this, North America leads the global natural gas production. We have to continue. We have to build the infrastructure, and well, there are a lot of companies from not only from U.S. but also from Canada on the business of transportation, gas transportation. We have a big pipeline that bring gas from Texas to the Mexican Gulf, well, the American Gulf. Now we need the support of the U.S. and the Canada companies for the technology transference. We have to help the SBA companies, because due to the problem with Pemex in the past years because of the payments, well, we don't have specialized companies. Now we don't have specialized companies in some areas to work with Pemex on the upstream, midstream, and downstream. And well, we need to help those companies. And in the Mexican Energy Council, we are developing a mechanism with the SBA for helping them, and well, to promote the national content of our country.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as continues to be the theme in the North American energy space, there's just tons of win-wins everywhere you look there. I mean, for example, I think many of the refiners in North America would love for Pemex in Mexico to increase production, because a lot of those refineries love certain types of crude out of Mexico. It's really high-performing stuff. And so I just, between that and the natural gas increased production, I mean, if you just look at in the U.S. where there's places where they have access to abundant natural gas, you can see the economic impact there, right? Like that is where people are going to build data centers next to cheap sources of fuel to build the generation next to the natural gas hub where it's abundant, and you can buy it in bulk at people won't want to hear depressed prices, and just whether you're connecting to the grid or you're self-generating, having access to abundant, cheap natural gas is such a economic driver, and it's not like that's just magic to natural gas, right? That is magic to any form of energy. Energy, look, I'm in the energy industry. I'm speaking my own book. Energy drives is the fuel that drives the economy, right? Like if you have abundant access to cheap fuel, then it just unlocks whatever you want to do. If today it's data centers, 100 years ago it was railroads. It is what drives the economy. And so if you can produce in abundance, be smart about your sources, make smart choices to transition on a timeline that makes sense, that is helpful to your populace, but you can really unleash your economy by saying, look, if you've got 100 things to worry about in your business, but one of them isn't the cost of your fuel, it isn't the cost of your electricity, it makes doing business so much easier on any other number of things to actually go focus on your business rather than that one input cost.
Yes, the problem is the dependence of the gas and the implications for the energy sovereignty in our country. Now, because of the USMCA, the negotiations, well, we have the implications for our energy sovereignty are linked with the sensitivity to the international price fluctuations, as you mentioned, the price here and the price in Asia, the vulnerability to the climate events. With the forecast now, you don't know what will happen in the following months, in the following years. The vulnerability to the international conflicts. What will happen with Iran? What will happen with the oil prices in the world? The limitations on the regional development because of different culture, our culture, and the difference among the culture of every country, the uncertainty in the supply security. We have to decrease the gas imports from U.S. and the dependence on the foreign decisions. Can you imagine if our power generation depends from, 60% of our power generation depends from the gas that we bring from U.S.? Obviously this issue is on the table in the negotiations.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think for me, I'm hopeful on the CUSMA USMCA renegotiations. I think we proudly export fuel to the U.S., to Europe. We sell to Canada, and so we're taking our renewable fuel to all these markets that have policy support in place that's been very successful in driving that industry. So we are an international trade organization, and so that's what we want to see. But I would also be hopeful that regardless of politics, there's nuance to every angle of this, but regardless of politics, that what we've seen now is that there are worldwide impacts to the energy space, like shocker, right? No surprise. And so I hope that as we go into that renegotiation, it underscores, look, Team North America, let's for such a fundamental commodity as energy, let's be smart about who we get it from, how self-sufficient we need to be ourselves, and in reliance to our trusted partners, as opposed to people that clearly do not have our best interests in mind, or have their own interests in mind. And so I think energy security coming into that renegotiation makes me very hopeful that people keep the broader aspect of all of those benefits between the trade between the three countries in mind as that renegotiation happens.
Yes, there are multiple scientific and technological development focused on the low environmental impact and waste management, zero contamination risks for the aquifers, and efficient water, including reuse system up to 80%. And well, that's why in Mexico we have a committee of scientists and specialists, and in this table would be great that we can bring your expertise, that we can bring the business model of U.S. and Canada, and but this is the way that we have been, that this solution we have been talking about long time ago. And well, can you imagine right now in Mexico the production of the oil production is around 1.6 million barrels per day. U.S. due to this technology solution with the fracking, here U.S. produce around 20 million barrels per day. Well, can you imagine? A long time ago, well, you can imagine that based due to the technology, U.S. can do it. Now we have to move on the same direction, on the same way, and if we found and if we found the partners from U.S. and Canada to develop our market, our energy market, that will be great not only for the border states but also for the Mexican Republic.
Yeah, well said, well said. Just kind of looking at time here, I'm thinking, do you want to move to questions or do you want to?
No, well, no, that's it.
Okay. So yeah, thanks for the time, everyone. If folks have questions, I think we're happy to take them. But otherwise, thank you for the time.
Thank you.